But because I know from time to time when I have these experiences where I hold the hand of a dying woman, when I come out into the light of day from the dark room where she's sitting and dying ultimately, and I see my wife and I see the children, I have that little whisper inside me that says, this is temporary. You better make sure that you do your best at it. And you better make sure that you make the most of it right now, because who knows how much longer any of us have. And I think that's the beauty of death that we miss, that it can drive us to live a more passionate life. And thus, I see death as a necessity for life. It's a necessity. Just as to know it's warm, you need to sit in the cold for a while. Just as to know you're full, you need to be hungry. And just as to value life and to know that you've lived, you need to die, to renew, refresh, reset your passion. That's how I view death. And I think it's the healthiest way to view death from all I've studied and contemplated and meditated on, and all I've experienced in my life. For those of you who are mourning, it's not easy. For those of you who are dying, I don't know how it feels to be that way. But I know that death is not the end. And I think that's one of the most valuable things we can have. But just because it's not the end doesn't mean that we don't give up on this life. And we should not give up on this life, even if you believe in life after death. Because you are here for a reason, and your ancestors, against all the odds, for millions of years successfully passed on to you life on your mother's side and your father's side. And that's got to be of value. You're here for a reason. So don't live to die like many Christians want you to. Don't live to die like many Muslims want you to. Live to live.
Great Spirit, I have had it. Bring me back to the nomadic way of weaving through the damage. Mindful, stay mindful. Great Spirit for my...
Hey guys, I have just finished fulfilling one of my New Year's resolutions, or New Year's promises to myself, if you would. I made a promise to give to myself a little bit more each and every day. And for me, that's exercise and working out. So I did some calisthenics, which is what this is here. I made some homemade calisthenics equipment, so you're lifting your body weight instead of lifting weights. It's just nice and refreshing. But whilst I was doing it, there was something on my mind, and it's quite an unnerving topic for many persons, and that is death and dying. Now, a friend of mine here is dying, and she is a single mother. Her one-year-old son is living here with us at Featherstail because she is now too sick to care for him. Her other two children were staying at Kippapeo House, which is our other children's home, but it's a different culture, and they insisted on staying with their mother to help her. So we respected their wishes. And I sat with her yesterday morning, and we talked, and I explained to her that the children will always be provided for, and that I will always look after them as if they were my own, if, I guess it's a case of when, but we prefer to use the term if she leaves us. And she said that she did not expect to see this year, and she's very grateful that she has managed to see this year. She's in the later stages of AIDS, and her body is being attacked by many chance infections, overloaded with fungal infections and viral infections. Everything's just going wrong because she has no immune system left anymore. That is the nature of HIV/AIDS virus. It destroys the immune system. So she's having a hard time, but we are praying and we are hoping that she can bounce back. And I've seen a lady bounce back from this position before, so it's not a stab in the dark or a women to prayer. It's a possibility. So we stay positive for her, but we have to make, obviously, arrangements for the worst and make sure that she is comfortable with everything that's going on, and so are the children. So this got me to thinking about death, because as you sit holding the hand of somebody who believes they are dying, has been told they are dying, and they are wishing to... She asked to see me because she needs to know that her children are with us no matter what. And it's a very powerful experience. And death is a part of all of our lives. There's one guarantee in life, and that's that none of us are going to get out alive. Some of the global elites would like to try to with their transhumanist ideologies. But we can't overcome God and his plan. And you see, the point and the necessity of death is something that's often overlooked. And we have a very horrendous, to be honest, is the best word I can use, relationship with death in the Western culture. And I think it needs addressing in all of us. And I've meditated on death a lot here because I've had a great deal to deal with. I hadn't had so many deaths to deal with until I came to Tanzania. But since I came here, I've seen many, many beings that I love die. I don't know, starting with the rescue dogs, I literally do not know how many dogs have died in my arms. I can't count it. I could sit and go through it, but I lost count. I don't know how many I woke up after nursing them and they died in my bed while I was asleep, or they died next to my bed. I just don't know how many times I've had a knock on the door and they've said, "Hey, sorry, but this dog has died." It's a lot. And this forces you to start thinking about death. Now, as you know, last year we had, other years as well, but we've had children who we care for pass away. And last year was the first time a child that we were guardian to died. And sadly 3 children passed away last year who we were guardian to. And this makes you think, and you have to address it. And I think all of us in our lives, maybe when parents die or siblings die or unfortunately our children die, we have to address that issue and we have to speak about it. And those of you watching me, even in the comments section, there are persons who have been very open and said they are dying inside the comment section of our videos. And I think it's a wonderful community for people to be for that. Because this is real life. I hope that my channel is real life. We don't try to sugarcoat it and we don't try to hide the truth of it. Life has dying in it, and thus you must see death if you're going to see a true depiction of life. And even one such wonderful lady with a wonderful heart, because I can see it came from her heart, saw that I was struggling with the death of my first rescue dog and made me a wonderful piece of artwork the other day. And she openly said that she was going to leave this world before long inside a comment on one of the videos. So there's a community of us here, guys, and death is part of our community as well. It's not something we can escape or we can hide from in any which way, shape or form. It's there. It's part of the world we live in. But this relationship we have with death, it's a bad thing. We see it as cruel, we see it as bad, and this really needs to change. It has to change. Because when you're around people who are dying so often, and when you're around death as often as I have been here of late, it's not selfish, but it makes you really grateful for life. When you leave that home, when I left the home of that lady whose hand I held and who I held in my arms and said, God bless you, we love you, don't worry, we're going to look out for you and the kids. That's not going to change. When you walk out, and this lady can't even walk anymore at the moment, she's going deaf, it's all just falling apart, and you go out into the sun of the day and you say, wow, I've got my health. Someday I won't be here. I'm going to make this count. And it stirs something very powerful in you. And the way we treat death in the West has made us not think about that. And I think that's doing a great disservice to all of us, because when you think about death, it forces you to live. And the problem I think we have in the West is we use things like Hollywood movies, and during any one Hollywood movie, between 100 and 1,000 people might die in front of your eyes, and it just they just become irrelevant. You don't look at a bad guy or the baddies on a James Bond movie dying and wonder how their family are going to feel. And we start to create this bizarre relationship with death due to it. We have a strange relationship with death in the West. And that plays a role, Hollywood movies, and we just see death. But we don't think about our own death. And we should. Now, many people think about it in the wrong way, and they become scared that they need to live good now, because when they die, they're going to go to a place of torment for being a bad person. And again, this creates a very strange relationship with death and also with God. Because God, strictly speaking, in this Christian religion, said that he is the God of the living, not the God of the dead. Now, many people want to live for death in that respect, and we see this in extremist Islamic persons at the moment on the planet who live for death. Death is the greatest possible thing for them. For me, life is the greatest possible thing because it's a gift. And death will come. I'll die just as everybody listening to me now will die. But for now, I'm alive. And I'm damn grateful that I'm alive, because I get another day to breathe it all in and experience it and have an impact for the generations to come. And I'm sure my ancestors, whom I don't even know, who for hundreds of thousands, millions of years, on the father's side and on the mother's side, successfully looked after and passed on to me today the gift of life, I'm very sure they see what we do. And I'm very sure we should always think of that too and make them proud. Now, I also have a reincarnation belief, as you know, so not all of them are watching, but some, I believe, are. And having the experience I've had with death in my life, with having contact from the other side, I made a video about this with my grandmother who contacted me. I know that people don't all reincarnate and that they go to another place where there's consciousness, where they are alert, and where they are conscious even of ourselves still here. But this relationship with death is what I wanted to get at. Because we need death for life. You know, imagine living on and on and on and on for millennia, and on and on and on. And you've got your loved ones all around you. Don't you think that perhaps, just perhaps, your love for them would start to dim? Your enjoyment for spending time with them in the limited level of experiences we can have on this planet would come to a point of annoyance. And when you die, it's refreshed. And knowing it's going to die makes you so much more hungry for the love that you have around you. And it makes you so much more passionate for your family and your friends and your loved ones. Because you know it's temporary. It fills you with a passion that many of you don't realize, I think. And I think inside our Western culture, we can get to a point where we die, or people are dying around us, and we haven't thought of that. And when they die, we get this shock and we can't cope with it, and we mourn so heavily because we haven't bothered to think they won't be there forever. Let's make this time with them count. And it'll just make life that little bit more vibrant and passionate. It just does. I've seen it here. in my own life. That's the feeling it generates. But we have this unusual relationship with death, and I've said this before in the West as well, that death is some sort of horrifying thing. And I think problematic with that is the way Christianity has presented itself inside our culture. That the Son of God himself died for our sins, as if dying is the worst possible thing that can happen. No, he suffered, is how it should be presented. He suffered a horrible death for our sins, is how a true pastor should present it. Because death means nothing. Big wow, he went to eternal peace with the loving Father. This is not a punishment, this is a good thing. To go back to the Creator, to go back to that eternal love and light. This is a good thing that should be celebrated. But we've made it in this peculiar way by putting the Messiah on a cross and saying, look, he died for you. And you're like, oh my God, he died for me because I'm a worthless sinner. Okay, but is it really such a big sacrifice? If someone said to me now, to save the whole of humanity from their sin, you can go and live in eternal peace and love with the Creator of all that is, I'd say, oh, okay, well, so be it. Do it. I could make that sacrifice for the sake of everybody. It sounds pretty cool. But if someone said to me, but to die, we're going to torture you and make you suffer horrendously, then I'd have some hesitation. You see, the presentation of the story of Jesus plays a horrendous role in our relationship with death. It makes us see death as a bad thing. It's not. It's the pain and the suffering that leads up to it that was the bad thing within the story of Jesus. And thus, we are left with this imprinted and conflicted nature with death. We are going to die. All of us are going to die. And whatever you believe happens to you inside the West, predominantly you've been told you're going to go to heaven with God. But at the same time, you've been told death's a really bad thing, so nobody knows how to treat it. Wouldn't it be nice if we truly had faith in the knowing that we are passing on to God? We absolutely knew it. And then we could sit down with our families and celebrate. Hey, you're going to die soon. I'll see you there at some point. But wow, this is going to be an amazing journey for you. You're going back to the original source of light. We love you. We're grateful for the life you've had with us. But you've got another life beyond here. And you've got to go alone, and we'll miss you, but we'll catch you up. We know this. It's only a temporary inconvenience. What a more healthy relationship with death it would be. And it's not that easy. You know, I'm not, well, we're all dying in our own way, but I've not been told I'm dying soon. I don't know what effect that would have on me. But I don't think I'd be scared anymore, because I know God, and I know God is there, and I know that death is not the end. And ever since I had this visitation from my grandmother, I'll put the video at the end of this one if you haven't seen it. Ever since I had that, then I know that there's life beyond here, and I don't have a fear of it. Now, if I was actually dying, that might change. But even though I don't have a fear of it, and I know there's life beyond there, the core nature of humans is a selfish one. This is part of our problem. We serve self quite often, as much as we can. So even when these children die, children who have suffered, children who have had great difficulties in their life, even finding comfort to go to sleep at night, because I love them, and every night I'm used to going in and touching them and saying good night and rubbing them on the cheek or scratching their back or whatever we used to do, because I'm used to it and it's part of my daily routine. When it's not there, I miss it. And when I cry for them, part of me is really crying for myself because I miss them. But for them, I know that they are happier where they are than being stuck in a body that's hurting them here. So it's a selfish state of mourning from myself. For others it's not, of course, because no one's quite sure what's going on, but I know 100% that they're in a better place. But I still selfishly weep for them and want them back because I miss them. And that's normal, that's part of a normal emotional function in a human being. But what a peculiar relationship I've developed myself with death due to this. I still cry and mourn, but I know I'm selfishly doing it because I know that they are in a better place. I've got no doubts about it. I know it. I know there's life after death. I've got no whatsoever reservations that there's life after death after the visitation from my grandmother. None at all. But I still cry because I'm selfish about it. I want them back because I don't want to miss them anymore. So, death is an unusual thing for all of us. I know that we go back to the original source, to where we're from. And I know in that place there's no physical pain that we might be experiencing here. And I also know that death, if you really think about it, is necessary. Because if you leave me in a room for 1 billion years with my wife and these children, eventually I'm going to get annoyed at them, because it's part of the nature of our human vehicle that we have limitations to the amount of time we can spend doing certain things. God made us this way. Nature made us this way. The laws of nature that He created made us that way. So if we lived forever and could love everyone forever, we wouldn't care about each other after a while. We wouldn't love each other with the same intensity. But because I know from time to time when I have these experiences where I hold the hand of a dying woman, when I come out into the light of day from the dark room where she's sitting and dying ultimately, and I see my wife and I see the children, I have that little whisper inside me that says, this is temporary. You better make sure that you do your best at it. And you better make sure that you make the most of it right now, because who knows how much longer any of us have. And I think that's the beauty of death that we miss. That it can drive us to live a more passionate life. And thus, I see death as a necessity for life. It's a necessity. Just as to know it's warm, you need to sit in the cold for a while. Just as to know you're full, you need to be hungry. And just as to value life and to know that you've lived, you need to die, to renew, refresh, reset your passion. That's how I view death. And I think it's the healthiest way to view death from all I've studied and contemplated and meditated on, and all I've experienced in my life. For those of you who are mourning, it's not easy. For those of you who are dying, I don't know how it feels to be that way. But I know that death is not the end. And I think that's one of the most valuable things we can have. But just because it's not the end doesn't mean that we don't give up on this life. And we should not give up on this life, even if you believe in life after death. Because you are here for a reason, and your ancestors, against all the odds, for millions of years successfully passed on to you life on your mother's side and your father's side. And that's got to be of value. You're here for a reason. So don't live to die like many Christians want you to. Don't live to die like many Muslims want you to. Live to live. Know that death will come. But understand the value in it, because it can make you live stronger. It can make you live harder. It can make you live with more passion. That's all I want to say. God bless everyone. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West, after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.